Now, you are welcome to the session Energy Transition and Clean Cooking. With me on the right hand side, Mr. Riyad from UNDP. On the left hand side, Mrs. Fatma from Badia. And I think the best thing to do, me is Badruddin Ibrahim. I am a senior advisor to ACFund. So, and Atania from Electricity Without Borders. So I'll let each one introduce himself in about half a minute to 1 minute. Start with Riyad.
Shukran, Ubaid. I am Dr. Riyad Boujmadi. I am from UNDP. I am here to represent the Arab region of UNDP, and I am localized in Jazair, in Algeria. I joined UNDP 10 months before, and I spent more than 30 years in the energy fields. I was executive at EDF, Électricité de France, for many, many years, and now I am with you.
Fatma?
Thank you so much, Professor Badruddin. Excellency Dr. Nasser, colleagues from ACFund, Badia, and UNCCD, thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Fatma Sheikh. I'm the strategic advisor at Badia. Contrary to you, I spent 22 years in UNDP, and I moved to the development finance world. So after working in the policy sphere, I wanted to know what makes a decision in financial flows. So I'm very pleased to sit today for Arab Bank for Economic Development of Africa, which is 50 years old institution by the beginning of this year. Thank you.
And I'm Tania Chauvin. I represent Electricians Without Borders, or Électriciens Sans Frontières, as we're originally called, because we're a French NGO that's dedicated to improving energy access in off-grid rural communities throughout the world, but with a big part in Africa. We'll talk about it maybe during the session. And I'm really happy to be there as last year's winner of the prize. And thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Let me first introduce the issue by saying something about the two concepts of clean cooking and dirty cooking. I think people know clean cooking, but usually they don't know the dirty cooking. The clean cooking is a sustainable fuel and modern cooking techniques that is not harming health and polluting the environment. On the other hand, the dirty cooking is the use of charcoal, wood, and kerosene that kills around, according to the figures which I have cited from the net, 4 million a year, and there are more than 3 billion using wooden oven, open fire, and smoke stoves, estimated to be 1 out of each 3 people, which is really a very alarming figure, and there is no hope. You know, the progress now for clean cooking all over the world is very slow, and there is no hope that the world will reach the target by 2050. This is an introduction. We have a film, but we are going to delay the film for the sake of Fatma, and we are going to ask the questions now. And the questions are very open questions. If you want to answer, I'll give you all the freedom, because I'm a very democratic person. I don't want to impose anything on any one of you, except there is one question for you because of your specialization. Clean cooking, why it matters? That is the first question. What do we have to do in order to accelerate its use to attain GD, Sustainable Development Goal number 7, targeted by 2030? Anyone wants to answer the question? Fatima?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Badreddin. I think, first of all, I think the fact that ACFUN did pick the clean cooking does not come haphazardly. It's based actually on a real, genuine scientific foundation where we know that using the right technology and alternative technologies for protecting and conserving the nature is one way to provide a sustainable solution. In the early eras, we were talking about poverty reduction as if it was not a sustainability issue. In fact, if you look at clean cooking, it's one way to not only conserve the nature or preserve the tree, but it's also one way to protect the health. It's one way to ensure that there is a food of decent quality on the table and to ensure that there is actual financial inclusion. So if you wish, it's something that taps on the paradigm shift of the household income. And the fact that it actually focuses on women, and there is evidence, empirical evidence, that women perform better than men when it comes to paying our loans, taking the stage of being one of the strong women advocate for financial inclusion of women, they do perform well. So the whole attitude of clean cooking and combining it with financial solution and financial inclusion is a more of a comprehensive strategy. It builds on the legacy that ACFUNs had. But for us in Badia, we see it as an important contributor to one of our strategy 2030 pillars, which is focusing on small and medium enterprises with a special focus on youth and young population, but also focusing on women. So with that, we have partnered with ACFUN on different countries where we are trying to trigger the utilization of clean cooking as a livelihood improvement approach. I think you could have not picked up something on the renewable energy that is more important than clean cooking because it touches on the life of the people. I would have to forgive myself and ask my colleague Khalid, who is even more expert and renowned, being an environmental specialist, to join you in the panel. And it's the COP28 success that makes the agenda very hectic and chasing different sessions. I would thank you again and thank ACFUN, the UNDP, and with Electricians Without Borders, I had the chance of working with you in my earlier life in UNDP. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Khalid, can you join us? Please, thank you. Thank you, Fatma. Khalid, you can continue now.
No, it's okay. I will come back later.
I'll come back later. Okay. You know, advancing technology and the new payment system. How do you see these two as helping clean cooking and solar energy services reach lower income group? No, after.
I'll start? Okay. Yes, well, we're not expert of clean cooking at Electricians Without Borders, but I think the issues are actually very similar in terms of difficulties and of beneficiaries as well. So I think to reach the most vulnerable populations that are still off-grid and that are still using polluting sources for cooking, they are the same. Like we said, women in rural areas, and I think to reach them, you need beforehand to take into account their needs. And we often think of technology at COP28. It's a lot about technology, and we absolutely know how technology is essential to affordability, to a new service, but it's not the end all of a solution. And so social inclusion beforehand of the community and making sure that your service is actually working the way they need for it to work is essential. And I think some of the failures that we have seen in clean cooking before, in terms of stoves that technologically are perfect, but that the populations are not taking to, I think that's the main point, is that it wasn't designed with their needs And I think for solar products, it's kind of the same issue. It's like sometimes we are doing this perfect technological object, but it's not adapted to the needs of your rural, underserved population. So how do we, make sure that we include them beforehand?
Of course, you're right. Riyadh?
Thank you, Badr. I will just share with you an experience in electricity panels. You know, in Africa, the pays as you go, PAYG, it was a success, okay? Because you have population with low incomes, and I think when they use the M payment or other techniques like PYG, they will help more citizens to have the access to the service. And I want just to add something. For going to the clean cooking, I give you just two solutions among a lot of solutions. We can use electricity. And today with solar panel, it's easy and it's faster to do it. And it's cheap. We have demonstration today. I give you an example for the big firms. In Saudi Arabia, they reach $10 per megawatt hour. Okay, demonstration, we have it today. We can go ahead. And you have the composting, because we have the vegetables and biologic waste. We can use them to create methane, to methanization for the cooking. I think the both solution with M payment and electricity solutions, we can go very quickly to the clean cooking.
You want to answer?
What's the question again?
The same question.
Repeat it again.
Okay. The question is, how do you see the advanced technology and the new payment system, is able to reach the lower income people with regard to the clean cooking?
Okay, thank you. So definitely when there is access to this advanced technology, and when the people actually know how to handle it, then it will definitely solve a lot of issues. Because like the issue that comes from having dirty cooking is diseases, and also we are polluting the atmosphere. So definitely when there is access to clean cooking, there's access to a better standard of living. And then, now that we're also looking at, bringing people out of poverty, when you put the financial aspect into it, that actually motivates people even more, and it even has a stronger developmental impact. Thank you.
Thank you. ACFund has got a very good experience and model for clean cooking in two countries, in Sierra Leone and in Sudan. I can speak about these things, but I will let my colleague Mohammed Salim, if you are ready, to give us a few sentences about the two experiences in Sudan and Sierra Leone. You can stand there.
اشتغل. It's working. Thank you very much, Professor. It's my pleasure to be with you here today. Well, in Sudan, we have been actually working in clean cooking since 2014 in Sudan. The first experience for ACFund through our partner organization in the field, IBDA Microfinance Bank, an affiliate of ACFund, established with the partnership from the private sector and ACFund and the Islamic Development Bank. So it was actually by chance we were Dr. Nasser and I were wandering in Sudan while establishing the bank, and Dr. Nasser saw a lady who was cooking tea with charcoal. And at the same time, she was breathing smokes and coughing like extensively. So we approached her and asked her what we can do if we replace this charcoal with a cook stove and gas. And she said it's fine. And we told her this will be a loan and not a free of charge. So we started, from this incident came the idea of piloting a product on clean cooking through using the LPG gas, replacing charcoal, and funding. Since then, we funded thousands of ladies. They are called, in Arabic, they are called sitta shai, so tea ladies, and in the streets. Now we are integrating this. So we integrated this product in financial inclusion. We are just joined now with a previous also winner of the prize from India, Mahela.
You are welcome.
You are welcome. We integrated this in financial inclusion, and now also with the smallholder farmers. So no farmers are granted loans without adopting the clean cooking product. At the same time, in Sierra Leone, we started early this year with our partner Badia, also supporting clean cooking, replacing charcoal cooking with clean cooking stove and LPG. But what we did more in Sierra Leone is that we connected it with digitalization. So a mobile application, a mobile wallet is being opened for clients, saving accounts, electronic saving accounts, also digital remittances, and linking it also with the loyalty program with Orange Company for telecommunication. So clients can pay part of their the cost of this gas through their loyalty programs with the MNO. So we are expanding with this, and also going forward with our strategic partner in Africa, Badia, to expand into more countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In addition to what Mr. Mohammed Salim has said about Sudan and the case of the lady selling tea, the percentage of Sudanese who are using clean cooking, I think it is around 20%. If you go to Sierra Leone, according to the studies we have reviewed, it is less than 1%, it's 0.7. And I think Sierra Leone is at the bottom of world countries which has got clean cooking. And I have been discussing this with the governor of the central bank, and he was so astonished about that. They didn't think that clean cooking could be solved by financial inclusion. So I told him that could be possible, and they are highly appraising. As Salim said, we are starting, but we are planning for a big program because this country really needs these services. Before I go back to the clean cooking, I will shift to the energy transition. And I will ask Mr. Riyadh, to give us his understanding and thinking about the energy transition in the Arab region. Is it okay?
Please. Shukran, Abaid. I left 5 minutes on another panels where I try to explain my view and UNDP view about energy transition. Today, the region, Arab region, is living an important degradation of the climate. It's clear, with temperature very high, never recorded before. In the north of Africa, they reach 55 degrees. It's the first. We have drought, water scarcity, and so on. Okay. Today, to transit to the sustainable and clean energy is not a market opportunity or financial opportunity. It's not a profitable project or action. This is necessity today. And in UNDP, and it was also my believing, because it was my idea, the energy transition is based on five pillars. For me, the first pillar is the energy efficiency. The energy efficiency, it's just to push the citizens and the population to change their behaviors and to reduce the energy consumption and to create savings. We have some solutions like self-consumptions with solar panel, like to use electric vehicles for the e-mobility, like to put some meters inside the building and to reduce the energy. The second pillar, it's for me, what you say in English, is solidar with the first one, is the smart energy. In the developed countries, they are switched directly to the IoT, Internet of Things, and AI. And with IoT and AI, we can accelerate this behavior changing. Why? Because the human cannot control all the equipment inside the home, but the AI and IoT can do it in their place. Today, the heating in the Europe is managed with IoT, and they reach around 25% of economics. All right, this is true, and for that we have in the region to push in the innovation around the AI and around the IoT. And around the smart energy, we have smart lighting, smart charging, smart grid, smart meters, smart, and all this smart, they will, the intersection is with the smart cities. I think is the future for all the countries in the region. The third one is the energy mix, is how to mix the renewable in the energy portfolio of the countries. What the difference between this region and others? This region has an energy DNA, because we are in this region, you have strong countries with oil and gas experience. From west to east, we have Algeria, Libya, soon Egypt with Zohr fields. We have KSA, we have Emirates, we have Kuwait. Okay. They have experience in the energy. It's not, for me, it's not a subject. We can go with their beliefs, with their understanding of the changing. Why? I give you just a little example in this portfolio. We can't go 100% on the solar. We can't go 100% on the renewable. They have this DNA. We have to think with them to push to set up the CCS, carbon capture storage. This is the mitigations approach is very, very important. And in the region, we have solar, yes, but solar, the load factor is just 20%. It's short. And you need many square meters of many hectares of lands. No. And we have, in the region, we have a very strong wind corridor. We have to go to the wind technology. It's cheaper today. It's not like 3 or 4 years before. And the third solution, I push on it. It's the PSP, pumping storage production, because we have more countries. They have a sea coastal, and in this region we can use the marines PSP. The PSP, the biggest one is in France, is 2 gigawatt, and you have and the next biggest one is, it will be in China. I think it's around 4 and 5 gigawatt, and in Arab countries we can push on the PSP. Okay, it's the solution. This technology, we can amortize this technology on over 50 years. It's not like solar is 25 years, yeah, between 20 and 25. And the fourth pillar is the new green fuels, is the green hydrogen and green ammonia, green ethanol, green methanol. These are transformed vectors, but the origins of the fuel is the hydrogen. We have sunshine, we have wind, we have coastal, and we can accelerate to the green hydrogen. In the same time, in the transition period, I think, because all these countries, they have CCGTs, they have gas turbine generation plant, they can use the yellow hydrogen. In Europe, they will go to the pink hydrogen, essentially France, because you use electrolyzer with electricity grid, and the majority of the electricity in France is nuclear. We tell it pink. For us, in the Arab region, is the yellow. We can link the electrolyzer with electricity grid, is majority from gas. Okay. And the last one, it's not the last. The last one is, we have to think globally. We stop to think individually, country by country. We can create a regional electricity market, because the west of MENA is connected, the east is connected. We can just to do the connection between the both parts of the region. And this is also what UNDP push strongly, is the carbon market. And this carbon market, we have to think regional, not just individually, country by country. And the last one is the transverse pillar of all these pillars, is for the financing. Financing, we have to think, and we have to innovate a new financial instruments to push on the green bonds and green investment funds, to push on the green debts and others. This is, I think, the word known how to works these three proposals. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you are an expert in the area. That's why I asked you this question. So it comes to financing. When you said financing, I think I have to ask these questions. We, in the practice side, banking system, we are always worried about what we call clean cooking business models, because there is no any developed business models so far, except the one we are trying to put it in Sudan. And so we need it to be comprehensive. We need it to be, client-centric, and we need it to be innovative. it's not well developed so far, but I want any idea about how this business model, especially in the financial inclusion and microfinance, look like. Anyone want to answer this question?
Start? Yeah. So I'll think about it with my solar energy perspective, but I think it's quite similar, as I said before. And for a lot of our projects, and that's what we've been saying in a lot of those sessions, is that I think we have to think how to de-risk private investment and how to pass across the message that some investments are not going to find like impressive returns really fast in those fields. Clean cooking as well as energy access for rural underserved population, because you're not you can't have high rates of return in 2 years. So you have to raise awareness for the financial sector of how to accommodate these new segments and how we can help the private sector assume also that risk that they're not used to taking, and that is less interesting in terms of you're going to get a lower percentage, a lower rate of interest, and that's not in its tradition. And I can completely understand that, but how do we work together with development mix, private sector, private banking, NGOs such as ourselves that are on the field to kind of find a compromise that works for everyone and find something with maybe it's going to be sustainable, but maybe it's going to be in 5 years. Yeah. And you have to wait it out.
Yeah, I think that the issue is so big because if you look at the number of those who are not getting any access to clean cooking worldwide, especially in developing countries in Africa, I think this should be a joint effort. And the banking system itself, financial inclusion, microfinance, is going to help. But I don't think they can cover a lot out of the demand side. So that is my worries, because I'm always looking at the thing, I mean, comprehensively, what we can do to.
Yeah, so I would also say that there's a lot of talk about de-risking when it comes to developing business models for clean cooking. And it's always important, like, to first be able to identify the need. Like financial institutions, that's the reason why they're there. Like the reason that they exist, it's to know what are the problems. So definitely we would know that there is maybe a technical deficiency there. And their job is to provide the resources, to overcome this issue. So definitely there would be the need to de-risk and, to think of something that is suitable for the client's needs.
I mean, we are always, when we develop a business model, we look for the client's needs, we look for the financial institutions, also stability as well as de-risking, This is the three things we have to do. There is also another serious problem, what I can call awareness. Clean cooking awareness. And I think especially when we went to Sierra Leone, we found that a lot of people are not even aware, and that's why they don't even want to take clean cooking. So we give them some demonstrations and leaflets and all these things. My worry is that who is going to take this job? Because as a banking system or microfinance, we cannot. This is not our domain. So who is this responsibility? Is it the government? Is it the NGOs? I just want to get any clue about your opinion in this direction.
It's a very important point that you raised, because I think convincing users and convincing population to change from what they were doing and they've been doing for a long time to something that is new. And in that sense, they're quite similar to banking institution in that they're averse to risk for different reasons. And For example, I'll take our projects that are we call Café Lumière, so coffee light, but are kind of a mix between a microgrid and energy services in a little shop in the middle of a village. And we got the feedback from our first pilot project was that you need to raise awareness very early on from the beginning of the project, way before you start the construction work, the building of the electrical grid. You need to raise awareness like a year, 2 years before even, and to be in the village. And it's, you know, last mile communities. We're working in Madagascar where it's like hours of a trip in difficult conditions. So it's costly. And a lot of private actors are reticent to take that position, so they have to be supported to adapt to those new locations. I would say that it's going to be a coalition of actors. It's going to be governments with the help of institutional, like international institutions, and locally implemented actors that know how to speak with a specific community, because you're not going to have like a one-fit-all situation. That's impossible. So you're going to have to finance and support the local actors that can actually work in the community for years.
But do you think that 1 to 2 years awareness program is going to be, as you said, too costly? And the number of people whom we should involve is huge. You know, you are talking about sometimes countries with 7 million, 12 million people, and most of them, they are not having any access, and they don't have any idea. In fact, when we explain to local people in Sierra Leone, we found that their knowledge is almost zero. And the first time they find that this is quite difficult. But after some trials here and there, I think now they registered into our bank, and we are targeting some, I think around 150, 200 between now and the end of the year. And I think next year, I think we are going to start with maybe 1,000, 2,000 or whatever. Before I give the floor, if you have got anything to add?
I want to add just one thing, Denise. I agree with you. And, you know, this is not a little business. It's not a business for a profitable business with business model. And I try to have to put capital cost and I wait an IRR. It's not that. For me, at this stage, we have to have a top-down decision, a high-level politics commitment. This is important for going very, very quickly.
I agree with the second, but I don't agree with the first. It could be a business model. But as you said, the government role cannot be ignored. We have a film, I think, before. You want to? Please, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to say that regarding the role, I mean, it could be the role of the governments, NGOs, as mentioned, and definitely the people themselves. They also have a role to play. You know, we can, the community, yes. And of course, the financial institutions, and they're even starting to acknowledge that, you know, there is the need for, you know, energy transition. And I just like to emphasize on that the Arab Coordination Group, which both Badia and ACFund, they're part of, they pledged about $10 billion, you know, just for energy transition. And part of that includes, you know, knowledge sharing, technology transfer, capacity building. So definitely they've acknowledged, you know, the magnitude of the issue.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to hear this. I think we will watch the film, and then we will come if there is any discussion after that. The film is about clean cooking in Sudan. I think it's quite interesting. We bring it here because of it relates to the theme of the session. Can you go ahead with the film, please? Can you see?
Here, the effects of nature's revolution against human injustice appear. Blocks and dunes of sand are thrown to threaten the green spaces. How can it not be when man, consciously or unconsciously, works with shovels to unjustly demolish and burn the forests, sometimes for the purpose of grazing and other times for the purpose of trade, or shelter or cooking, and he does not realize that the negative environmental impact goes beyond the local scope to extend to the entire region and detract from the rights of future generations. The Arab Gulf Initiative for Development, AG Fund, was present, raising environmental awareness and pushing global efforts to preserve and protect the environment in service of development goals. It is silently leading a revolution to support and strengthen the resilience of the poor and small producers in the face of climate change. And on the African continent, the Sudan EBDA Bank, as well as EBDA in Sierra Leone and in many of its branches, is a continuous effort in designing a number of products to achieve its lofty goals and objectives that aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals. Sudan Al-Ebda Bank for Financial Inclusion is one of AG Fund's institutions and is convinced that microfinance is one of the most important mechanisms at the roots level for access to clean energy, through clean cooking fuel at the expense of polluting biomass fuel. He worked to protect forests and empower women by promoting clean energy, raising awareness of harmful health effects, and reducing dependence on forests. The EBDA Canon product, traditional Sudanese cooking stove, was designed to provide clean cooking tools, gas cylinders and stoves for food and tea sellers. The product targeted many tea sellers in the cities where the bank is located. The bank's efforts continue to find solutions that would raise environmental awareness, protect and preserve natural resources, and spread the idea of clean cooking stoves. Supporting gas distribution centers in cities and villages increased income and raised awareness about reducing the risks of using firewood. Fatima. Despite her love for serving her family, distress and boredom dominate her features as she cooks food. How not? The smoke rising from cooking firewood constricts her chest and brings tears to her eyes. This was the reality until recently. And today, it is as different as yesterday. Fatima herself is cooking food and happiness appears on her face after she said goodbye to the firewood and the smoke rising from it.
We would go long distances. The woman would leave her house in the morning and return after breakfast. The best time she was supposed to be in a house was when she would be in vacancy to fetch firewood. Many times she would cut down a tree or enter someone else's farm to collect firewood, and a problem might arise. Now the situation is different after using gas, saving us time and effort.
Fatima and many of her friends, and through a joint effort between the EBDA Bank and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, clean energy has become their best choice for cooking. To support the continuity of service in the rural area, financing was provided through the bank to a large number of rural families.
We used to work a lot to get firewood for cooking, and now the forest has been cut down and we do not have anything to cook food. But thank God, the gas came to us and we had a complete rest.
Creating innovative solutions from EBDA Bank to serve targeted customers and create job opportunities and income for youth. There was funding for the owners of municipal bakeries that operate using wood fuel, which negatively affected the health of working youth and the surrounding environment, as well as the destruction of forests. Many young people financed large gas cylinders and mixers, and municipal bakeries became powered by clean fuel.
Wood smoke greatly affects the young people who work with me, as well as a group of houses around the bakery. It affects the income on the residents, so I changed to gas.
The bank's experience is in supporting agricultural associations, applying modern scientific technologies, and providing clean cooking stoves and clean fuel for families who need it, especially in the states of Darfur, Blue Nile, and states affected by wars and civil conflicts, has worked to limit the horizontal expansion of agriculture and reduce dependence on firewood. Saving a lot of effort, time and money.
Gas helps rural women a lot instead of using charcoal and cutting firewood. Usually the charcoal bag runs out before the month, while the gas cylinder lasts more than a month. The utensils we used to cook in were dirty from a lot of smoke, but now the kitchen is clean, as are the utensils.
Despite the continuation of war and conflicts in Sudan, the bank continued to provide its services in the safe states. The solar energy product for lighting and production and agricultural projects became more in demand and popular. To conclude, there remains hope for more commitment and purposeful preservation and protection of natural resources to serve development and human prosperity.
We used to rent a donkey to bring firewood, but thank God, after bringing gas, we benefited very, very greatly.
Thank you very much. This is a story of clean cooking of Akfand in Sudan, and it's going to be spreading, in fact, and we have got also a big program there, like Sierra Leone. If anyone wants to comment on this, also it's possible. Now I will leave the floor to ask some questions, if any. You want to react now? Later. It's coming, yeah.
Hi, my name is Luai. Thank you so much for the presentation. I found it really insightful, and it's great that we get various views, especially from Badia and UNDP, and I'm looking forward to hear more about your NGO. My question is, to achieve the energy transition, it's widely known that China is the only country today that will be able to achieve the energy transition. So I want perhaps to hear from each of you maybe a one-liner on how, let's say, the Arab world or the various examples that you gave, how will they be able to achieve the energy transition, or is it not their time yet? Thank you.
Do you want to answer or get another question, maybe? Yeah, another. You are not? You want comment? You can just give him, please, to comment. Welcome to the...
I just want to thank every panelist and say that there are often techniques to boost a special sector in an industry. And for energy cooking, for example, what was done, for example, in SME in West Africa is that the government has took on itself to create a special fund in the central bank to encourage the bank to lend to the SMEs. So this can be replicated to energy and the clean cooking, which will mean in practice that all the loan that a microfinance or a bank will do will be refinanceable by the central bank window, which will then clean the balance sheet of that microfinance or that bank. So that will encourage the banks to venture in that domain. And lastly, also, there will be an endeavor by the government to assist microfinance and the financial institutions to have a different accounting of the energy transition or the clean cooking loans by giving those loans a special accounting treatment, because bankers are often afraid that after 2 or 3 unpaid loans, you are obliged to provision it. So what the West African did is that they told the people who finance those type of instruments that those type of assets that, okay, you can go 2 or 3 months or 6 months without having the obligation to provision. And lastly, for to assist in the perennity of that action is to help those beneficiaries have a form of forced savings, because after a cycle of clean cooking loan, they want to come out rich, not rich, but graduate to another level. So every repayment that they do, you want to extract 20% of that repayment and block it as saving. And after that, they will discover that they have grown rich after the exercise. So they can talk around and be motivated to do more.
As you said, in our banks, we used to take 10% upfront from any loan as a compulsory saving, and then we give them also avenue to have optional saving, which come up like 3 to 4 times a compulsory saving, which means that, as I said yesterday, poor people can save. And saving is a starting point because this is a first relationship between the clients and our banks. And then it comes a loan, it comes insurance and other financial services. You want to comment? You want to comment? But you have
To the question, I don't think I'll be the right one to answer because I'm not a specialist of the Arab region as my other panelist is, or all my other panelists actually. But I think something that was said, energy efficiency, right? I think energy efficiency in access to energy or in energy transition more generally is key for emerging countries as well as more developed countries. At Electricians Without Borders, we always try to raise awareness of the communities where we're intervening or other partners to have their demand for energy be as close as possible to like the real demand and not oversized. And so I think that's a big part of it. But I'll let my other panelists answer the question, and maybe after that I can react.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. You have? Go ahead.
No, it's okay because I'm also not working on the Arab region. So, is it okay if I could comment on Africa? Because that's
Go ahead.
All right. So this is actually an interesting question because earlier we had a panel discussion. It was between Badia, Africa 50, and the Africa Climate Foundation. And we were talking about the potential of renewable energy in Africa. So one thing that actually came out of that discussion, as a continent, we are already at net zero. Considering that, we contribute the least to greenhouse gas emissions. So the issue wouldn't exactly be transition; it's more of access, energy access, because that is a major challenge on the continent. But if you ask me personally, if I think that the continent is ready for transition, I would say yes. Considering that they are already at net zero. I mean, even if you look at the percentage, it's negligible. So yeah, hope I've answered your question.
Okay, if there is nothing you want.
I think it's full. I agree what Khaled and Denise said. What I mentioned before, Arabic countries, they have an energy DNA, okay? But we haven't symmetric countries. We have countries, it's not a problem. The first problem for accelerating is the infrastructure. In Africa, it's not another problem. We haven't a strong infrastructure to receive a big project. In MENA region, 80% they can receive a big project, but you have 20%. They are in the crisis context, and in this case, we push to the solar panels and decentralization solutions. It's alone. And for the other countries, I think they have to reinforce their politics and the regulatory frameworks to go very, very quickly before the energy mix. We have to enhance the energy efficiency in the buildings, in the cities, in the industry. For me, it is the first step to go to the energy transition. After the energy mix is easy. You know, you can set up 1 gigawatt of solars in 3-4 months. Okay, thank you.
Energy efficiency first, is it? Okay. Any question? Yes, please.
Sorry, Steve Peachy from the World Retail and Savings Banking Institute, and we're graciously hosted here by Ag Fund. I'm not an energy expert. We talk mostly about microfinance. I've heard one of the critical constraints on off-grid solar is actually being able to get the collections of small enterprises to actually use the energy. But your point about it may be broadly net zero already, but with Africa we've got to decarbonise growth. Have you got any stories about how we can get clusters of SMEs, you know, maybe not the very big SMEs, but the small ones that need to grow and create jobs and use more energy? Have you got any stories about how that can be made to work as a demand stream for the small solar installations? Because the big grid stuff, you know, I agree, in Africa we're not going to see it except in the very big cities. So we're really on the hunt for stories about how you can pull this together.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
Sure. Well, I can hear some stories, but so as Electricians Without Borders, that's exactly what we're trying to do. So I'll take the example of our Café Lumière project, coffee lights, which are between the microgrids and services for productive activities. And so what we are hearing from the local entrepreneurs, the local producers, the rice hullers, all these activities that are in rural areas and that are using, or either they like to develop with new energy, or they're using, you know, fossil fuel-based energies, and then they like to switch. But you need to raise their awareness of the other solution, convince them that they have the same results in terms of processes, and that's the first part. And then you need training for them to adapt to this new equipment, because it often entails having some new equipment connected or some new machine that is going to be more energy efficient. And you need access to finance. And for us, that's been the big hurdle, is that even microfinance institutions locally do not want to go to those rural villages. Because it's too spread out, so you have high cost, you have no densification, you have no industrial customers, and it's too little of a scale, too much of a risk. So I think that would be our main lobby point, is how do we get those microfinance institutions to finance those small entrepreneurs to buy the equipment that they need to grow with clean energy?
Yeah. I think we have experience in small agriculture, where we compile a lot of small farms together as a group, consolidated group, and give them financing and other financial services. I think, but for clean cooking, I think we need to have a look at this seriously.
I want just to give an experience of UNDP in the fragile and crisis context. The first who tried to bring some helps for the population are micro enterprise and the individual entrepreneur. It's the first who challenge the situation.
Yes.
Is there a mic? Do you want to take my mic?
Take care.
I think the biggest problem of SMEs in Africa is not loan. If SMEs have not primarily a loan problem, but a problem of equity. There's not an equity foundation to sustain any loan at the banking or at the microfinance counter. What we need now is a form of solidarity to have more fund, investment funds, pension funds, or some form of venture capital to give seed money to those SMEs so that they can take it across. Now, the problem of rural densification of financing can be addressed, or the problem of rural inclusion has been addressed now in Africa by the rapid growth of digital. You know, in the cocoa season, for example, in Côte d'Ivoire, or in the cotton season somewhere in Burkina, you have people with small appliances like cell phone, where they can get their loans to send their kids to school, or buy some, fertilizers, or get some subsidies from the government through their phones. So they don't need really a banking brick and mortar for that. So the solution, there's two solutions. Some equity funds from the rich people in Africa, instead of making big buildings which are often empty. And or buying big cars, that's not something that is helpful. You make more money, two-digit money, instead of putting your money in a saving account. If you are rich in Africa and you have money in an investment fund for a small SME that transforms tomato in tomato paste, you will earn two digits. You would earn a return of 2 digits, instead of spending it or keeping it safe in yeah.
I hope that you are going to be rich and do the same.
Look, just please, to make sure we're clear, I'm 100% with you. We don't want to take bricks and mortar out into the village, but I do see people whose savings group has brought them a bank that's genuinely interested in then financing their businesses. And Dr., Professor Bauder, you've seen it too with your own microfinance institutions. The finance, it wants to move there. I think your point, though, that sometimes we need the micro-entrepreneurs to show us what to finance, and we've got to get better at that. And then we've got to find some way of getting grant, equity, training, loans when needed. That I think is all doable.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very fruitful discussion. And I think me, myself, I don't know about what others, I came up with a lot of new and interesting conclusions that I will look after later on. Thank you for Fatma, for Khalid, for Tanya, and Riyadh. Thank you very much for the discussion. And before I conclude, I would like just to ask Dr. Nasser if you have got anything to say at the end. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and hope to see you again in another discussion of a different topic related. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.